What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News. And this little stint of news is concerning Canelo Alvarez and the things I just noticed about this particular fighter. There were high hopes for Canelo Alvarez. I know he takes on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. on Cinco de Mayo weekend. That should be a pretty fun fight. But I remember when Canelo Alvarez was this guy that had this awesome fighting spirit. I remember him, when erislandy Lara called him out on stage, at the post-conference, the post-press conference of when they stopped the fight of him fighting Angulo in the 10th round. He hit him with that vicious uppercut, and that was coming off his loss to Mayweather. And, I know that was a devastating loss to Canelo Alvarez, but after he TKO'd Angulo, Lara called him out on stage, and of course he took that fight, which, it's one of those things, man, where when a fighter does that, that's admirable. That shows that fighting spirit. That shows that, hey, I want to be the best because I want to fight the best. And I remember that fight happening. I was really so excited. I'm like, look at this they got this red-headed warrior from Mexico that's a good puncher, and he's young, and he looks a lot more experienced than he really is, for his age, the experience that he has. But you got to look at it for his age. At that time, he had over 40 fights. So, but he learned a lot in the sport of boxing. However, when he fought Lara, he wasn't able to do the things because of the style Lara had, and he couldn't get to Lara. I mean, he worked Lara's body. He did do vicious body work to his midsection, but it was like that fight, it changed him, and I think in a way, I think, he scraped away with a split decision win, and and I just feel that fight took the fighting edge out of Canelo Alvarez, that fighting heart, that desire to fight all the best. I think that really was the fight that did it, because if you notice, after he won from that, he really didn't have too much to say about that fight. He did comment that Lara ran, and a lot of people felt Lara moved a little too much, but if you know boxing, that's a part of defense, especially with the Cuban school of boxing. And I noticed after that fight, he was just really, really reluctant to get back there with good competition, because after he fought Lara, he really didn't fight anyone that was threatening to beating him ever. Because after that, he fought Cotto. Everyone favored him to beat Cotto. But by that time, Cotto, not to say he was worse for wear, but, that wasn't the best Miguel Cotto that he fought. However, Cotto was not the favorite. Cotto wasn't a fight. You looked at the Cotto Alvarez fight. You didn't think like, oh man, Cotto's gonna beat Alvarez. You know what I mean? I never thought that. So, and that, of course, that was a money fight, and of course he won that fight. They threw him in there with Amir Khan. And that was a weird situation, because Khan was a welterweight, and really he wasn't a welterweight long from coming from 140, so that was another fight that he picked. And he was the middleweight belt holder at that time, as everyone, or if you don't know, he was a WBC middleweight belt holder, because he got that from decision in Cotto, in a 12-round decision. And, I felt he won that fair and square. I think he could have knocked Cotto out. I think he just respected Cotto a lot more than he should have. But after that, the Triple G fight was supposed to take place, and he gave up the belt, and that was really one of the signs. But I saw it way before everyone saw that fight. I didn't really think that he would fight Golovkin, but I didn't think that he would do such a thing like give up his belt. But I think it started at the Lara fight. It wasn't the Mayweather fight. It was indeed the Lara fight, because I can understand the logic for Canelo picking Lara. I mean, not even picking Lara, but deciding to fight Lara, because he didn't pick anyone. Lara kind of, confronted him. Not really confront, because it really wasn't a confrontation, but it was really like, like a question that was asked in kind of an aggressive manner, to Canelo Alvarez on stage, and he really was put on the spot. So, saying all that, I feel that Canelo thought he picked that fight because he was like, okay, well, if I was in there with Mayweather, I can handle anybody, so I can understand the logic for him deciding to fight Lara, because he was like, well, Lara's just another slick guy. But that's the problem. I think that's the kryptonite to a guy like Canelo Alvarez, with his, he doesn't have the best footwork. So fighting a guy like Lara again, that can move, is a challenge for him. So I think he wanted to take that fight because he wanted to challenge himself. He wanted to see if he was the best, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I gave him 1,000% respect when he decided to do that. However, the fight was a lackluster due to the fact that Canelo wasn't able to get off his punches, because we learned two things about Canelo Alvarez. One, he is not a pressure fighter. And two, he can't handle movers really well. He can't handle a person that actually knows how to box. So for the first part of that fight, he was being outboxed. The second part, he started coming back, throwing body punches, ripping him to the body, but he was still unable to neutralize the left hand of Lara. So Lara, whenever he wanted to, he hit him with the left hand. So it was one of those disappointing matches. And of course, a fight that was that close, and it was a lot of controversy due to a scorecard, by Levi Martinez, and it was like 9 rounds to 3, 117, 111. But the thing about it, a fight that close or whatnot should have been rematched immediately. That should have been a Pride and Glory too, because it was labeled Pride and Glory, right? First fight on July 12th of 2014. And it should have been immediately another rematch after that, because of how controversial that fight was, and because a lot of people, it's more like a 50-50, and it's all more like a preference fight, a pick'em fight. What style do you prefer? Because, Canelo has a great style. I love the way he puts combinations together. However, the difficulty he had with Lara, he couldn't put those punches together, simply because Lara's not the type of dude that's just going to stay there like a punching bag and let you hit him. It's not going to work that way. It ain't going to happen. And he was unable to do that. So the thing that he loved doing the most, which was putting punches together in beautiful combinations like he does from body and head, he was unable to do that, and I think that deterred him. I think, you could see he was frustrated in that ring with Lara. And Lara was pretty much doing what he wanted to. I think Lara should have pushed the gas because of the powers may be in boxing, but he did enough to win in my opinion. But he scraped away with the decision. Didn't give a rematch to Lara, and really after that hadn't fought anyone that was challenging ever again. If you look at all of his fights, Kirkland, Khan, Cotto, Beefy Smith, all these guys none of those guys were on the level of Canelo. Maybe Cotto, but this is a worn to wear Cotto. He was not the same Cotto. He was smaller, and I didn't pick Cotto to win anyway, because of the styles. I had Canelo beating Cotto, because Canelo is one hell of a fighter. He knocked out Smith, he knocked out Kirkland, he knocked out Khan, and he decisioned Miguel Cotto. But it just seems like because he picks these guys, and all of his fighters since that Lara fight hasn't been a threatening opponent, and the question is, where did the fighting spirit come? Where did it go? Was it just, I don't know. I mean, did he lose it? Because it feels like to me he lost that fighting spirit. He dude, because I think in his heart, I think he knew he lost the Lara fight, and there was no reason for a rematch simply because of the difficulty in style, you know. And someone like with the boxing pedigree of Lara, you know, he wasn't going to go back in there and the same thing was going to happen. Because I guarantee you, if that fight was in Miami or New York or anywhere else besides Las Vegas or on the West Coast, where there's a huge Mexican following, you know, that fight wouldn't have been, you know, that fight would have went a different way. You know what I mean? And, you know, Canelo Alvarez hasn't fought anyone since then. Now he's fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. under huge stipulations of advantage, you know, making Chavez come down to a weight class that he hasn't been over 4 years. You know, it's been a while since he's been able to make weight. So I just don't see. And that's another example of how a person's fighting spirit has been, has been deterred, has actually just vanished. Because why would you want a full advantage and hide behind the fact that you are the A side when before you didn't care about any of that? You know, he didn't have all those stipulations with Lara. All of a sudden, after the Lara fight, you know, he made the Golovkin fight very difficult. Oh, I'm not a 160-pounder. Oh, he has to come on down to 155. Oh, you know, but I'm going to fight somebody at 164.5. And, you know, it just became like, what happened? You know, what happened to the fighting spirit of Canelo Alvarez? What happened to that guy that will take on opponents when he gets called out, like he did with Lara? He fights Lara, all of a sudden, he doesn't want to do that no more. Oh, I'm the A side, he says. Oh, I'm not a middleweight, he says. You know, but now I'm fighting over middleweight, he says now. So I'm like, okay, well, what happened? That's my question to Canelo Alvarez, you know, in his camp, and, you know, him as a fighter. What happened? Because it seems to me that after the Lara fight, again, he was not the same guy. You know, I think, you know, guys that move like that, you know, he had a little shiner under his eye, but he wasn't just badly beat, you know. But I think that woke him up. I think that he became more commercial after that, you know, after that fight with Lara, because that really woke him up, and, you know, and really questioned who he should really go into the ring with. I think he began to actually take the advice of his handlers, simply because Oscar De La Hoya didn't want him to fight Lara, you know. And yeah, sure, Lara took an L because of the scorecards, but he'll never fight Lara again, or anyone that's tricky or got the boxing pedigree like Lara. And, you know, and he'll never take a tough fight. You know, I mean, that's what I see. And he's going to listen to his promoters and his handlers, which is, you know, Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins, you know. And I think that he will stay on the safe end, you know. And I think the best years of Canelo Alvarez, honestly, is over. He says, I'm getting better as a fighter. You know, the only way I see him fighting a guy like Lara again is Lara just looks terrible in his last performances. You know what I mean? And that fight will probably be built again on that. But if he wanted to honestly win, to be truthful about it, you know, he should really just get Levi Martinez back, because he'll win a decision. Because I don't see Lara knocking him out, you know. So, but the thing about Canelo Alvarez, if he wants to gain the respect back from his fans that, you know, really looked up to him, he would fight Golovkin. You know, that fight needs to happen. You know what I mean? He would fight Lara again. I don't think that he needs to fight Cotto. I think that he beat Cotto. But I don't. Mayweather, it's over. Mayweather's retired, so there's no need to really, you know, try to chase that fight, because, you know, that's Mayweather. Mayweather's going to always be Mayweather, Mr. Undefeated. You know, so anyway, that's just me wrapping it up with Canelo Alvarez. And those are the things that he needs to do if he wants to really get that fighting spirit back, which I doubt that it's still there. I think it's gone. I think he's still a good fighter, you know. But I think that after the Lara fight, a lot changed with him, and I think he's going to remain in the safe zone for the duration of his career, unless Golovkin seems very bad in the Daniel Jacobs fight. Then of course that fight will be made easily, but that probably would be his downfall, because Canelo Alvarez isn't Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs has a totally different style from Golovkin, so we just got to look at that fight. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about this segment. I know it's kind of been long, so I'm wrapping it up. You know, it's been a long ride back, so I tend to do that at times. But please subscribe to my channel. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News. You guys been counterpunched. Peace.